This position is from round 1, match 1, game 1 of the Viking Classic. I looked at playing 8-2 on the grounds that my opponent had 2 blots in their home board. So if I got hit back, then there was some opportunity to pick up another checker and increase my gammon chances, but then thought better of it. And I'm glad I thought better of it. Turns out that doing the 8-2 would increase my gammon chances by a lot, but it would also reduce my winning chances by a lot as well. So it's a massive blunder to do the loose hit, and doing what I did of just bringing 2 in is better. This is from the second game of that match, and I've got a 3-1 to play. I can either make my opponent's 5-point or I can make my 5-point. And so there's like a whole book out by Mark Olson on that question that I have and haven't read. And sitting, looking at over the board and thought, gosh, I wish I had read that book. What led me to make the 5-point was the thought that, like, I'm not really ready to play defense. They've only got a 1-point board, so getting hit is not super dangerous. And that turns out that it was correct to make my own 5-point, and it's almost a blunder to make my opponent's 5-point. So, yay. So this one, I immediately and instinctively made the 3-point and then thought better of it because I was looking at that I'm going to have to clear that 16-point at some point, and that the my opponent has 2 blots in their home board. So this is the time. If I get hit, then I've got a really good chance of a return shot. And if I don't clear that point now, it's likely to become harder to do in the future. So take advantage of a roll that clears it and does not leave a direct shot. So here I've got a 2-1 to play. The 13-11 is maybe about the only possible way to play the 2. You could play 24-22, but then the 1 is kind of awkward. And then what I ended up doing was also awkward, because if you are playing the 13-11, then you might as well keep going to the 10. What I did was I played the 13-11 and then the 6-5, which doesn't look that bad until you hit ++, at which point it becomes almost a blunder. And then I was immediately punished for it. So Darn. This one, I'm not sure what was going on with me. I think I just was a little bit tired or out of it or something. It's pretty clear that you can just run around the corner here, and then you end up uh, out of direct range and nice and safe. What I did instead was come out and then down, which leaves a direct shot off of a midpoint that has two spares on it. So really doesn't accomplish what you hope to accomplish. So here the 24 to 22 is pretty clear. You need to step those back checkers up. Then I instinctively made the 4-point, but then stopped to look at it because maybe it would make more sense to make the 13-point. But the 13-point, or I'm sorry, the 9-point, but the 9-point isn't blocking anything. So it's the making the 4-point strengthens my home board and is clearly the better option. This one, I don't think I looked very hard at any alternatives. 13 to 8 is a safe play. It just also happens to be pretty wrong. So the key here is that I need to strengthen my home board on the chance that he's going to need to run one of those back checkers and I might get a hit. 13 to 8 does not strengthen my home board. So even if I get a shot on this next roll, then I got to hope that it's in combination with a 2 so that I can play 5 to 3 and get a 4-point home board. So, oh well. Now I'm mad at myself. This one, what I was thinking was it's pretty unlikely that I'm going to get another shot at that blot on his 4-point, and so I might as well go ahead and save the gammon. But clearly, there's a lot of alternatives where I do stay back, and in this case, I was immediately punished by him having a roll where he did have to leave the blot there again, and I would have hit it if I had stayed. So, oops. So this one, I didn't explicitly look at playing 9 to 6, like, pointing at it or whatever. But that's kind of the clear alternative to the hitting play. Again, this is one of those, like Dirk Schiemann's got the whole book to hit or not, and I have it and haven't read it. So maybe I should read that one. Here I was thinking the hit, it's equal board strength. Maybe, I get lucky and then that gives me more time to escape. I don't have a direct cover, but I've got an indirect cover. And I decided, I'm going to go for the gammon, even though the cube hasn't been turned, and this is 3 away, 3 away. So, but the gammon win would get me to Crawford, so that's what I was thinking. But there's not a lot more gammons by doing that, but there are a lot more losses because when I'm hit back, I also would be facing a 4-point board, so that would be unfortunate. So this position is from my match against Ray Fogerland. And second game, I was attempting to kind of blitz him, but I'd given up on the blitz because he had these anchors, and so it was really kind of a time to just bring my checkers around and in. And what I was looking at was 20 to 15 for the 5, but then I wanted to just lift that blot off of the bar point on the thought that, like, I don't really need to make the bar point, but here it's significantly better to actually slot. So it's I can't even find my move. It was 2015 7 to 4. There it is. So as you can see, it's a blunder even on just plus. It's a little bit worse, I believe. A little bit better. So didn't really think about the timing of things. So, he's 88 pips behind after the move, which is not quite adequate timing for a back game, a 1-3 back game. It's probably adequate for a 1-3 back game, but the slot is good because if I get hit, it's only got a 1-point board. It's easy to re-enter, and it would be really, really nice to make the 5-point if I missed. So in retrospect, if I thought about the race, then I might have found this move, but I wasn't looking at the race, and instead I was just thinking about, well, I'm going to eventually need to clear that bar point. But that was so eventually that it was not really relevant at this time.
cube was a little early with about 4 touches in the backfield. I think after I sent that, I thought, oh boy, that was not right.
This position is from just slightly later in that same game. Got him pretty well pinned, and I didn't really look at anything else besides making the ace point. Making the ace point is pretty wrong. So it's again a timing consideration. I want him having to move those checkers. And instead I set it up so that, you know, he could have danced, and then that gives him more timing. So if I would have done better to even just hit loose and just leave that position slotted. Like, that's not a bad move at all. But once again, kind of not really thinking about destroying his timing, given that he's got the back game going. That's the best way to win against a back game, is to not let him have enough timing. So this one is from another game, game 6 out of the many that Ray and I played. On the bar, got a 5-6 to play, so 5 comes in, obviously, and then you've only got 3 choices for the 6. The best choice is to run. The worst choice is to hit, and I went with hit. With the thought that he's only got a 1-point board, he's got a blot in board, and, you know, why not make the move that ends up with 1, 2, 3, 4 blots in it instead of 3, only one of which is in range of anything direct. So it's a little bit too loose here. The only upside of it being that it was such a terrible play that it induced Ray to incorrectly cube me, and then I took, and then I don't even remember. I don't think that turned out all that well for me. Choices here: anchor, cover, or hit. Either the hit, then it's supposed to fall off his out. Then I'm just leaving 4 blots around the board with the 1-point board. Feels like that, you know, maybe he's getting a little optimistic. You don't take the anchor. Keep doing that. What I appreciate about this one is that I noticed that my immediate instinct of entering and hitting was not necessarily correct, and then talked through my thoughts as I was looking at different alternatives. Unfortunately, I settled on the alternative of making the bar, or making the anchor, which is like pretty significantly bad compared to the other alternatives. So what I was thinking was, you know, there's some risk of being hit, but then like I've got the anchor and he's got the point, the blot inboard, so there's a chance that I'll get another hit. But staying back gives me an immediate shot at the blot on his 3-point, and making my bar point does a better job of containing him than leaving 2 targets out there for him to hit. So it was significantly off, but at least didn't go with my first instinct, which was probably going to be something like hit and escape, since there wasn't another good 4 after making the hit. So. So what I was looking at here is I'm behind a full prime, and so my only real shot is to counter prime, which means I need to have that checker behind some of my other structure, which means I've got to hit it. Absolutely, right? Or not. Somewhere on this list is the 13 to 9 option. It is pretty bad, so I've got a good chance to just make more of a board, and instead I hit, leaving 4 blots around the board and just a lot of return shots, and I was immediately punished for it. Last one from my match against Ray, which has made it a good match for me. I only had 6 blunders from this one, even though it was a longer match than my first match. So, and my defense on this one, I was under a little bit of time pressure. I was starting to get a little bit concerned about that, and so I immediately wanted to play off of the midpoint, and then I think this is the other one I was really looking at, was to just split 24-22, 13-9. But in fact, getting trapped is the biggest liability I have. I've got reasonably decent structure in front of it, but at the time I was thinking, well, if I've come down to the 9, I might as well keep it going. There's not a ton of immediate threat, and there is some risk of getting hit if I split the back checkers. So, but as normal for fairly early on, not splitting can lead to long-term difficulties, as what I believe happened to me in this particular game. So. This is from my first game of the last match from the ABT that I have recordings of. It's against John O'Hagan. I was nervous and excited to get to play him, so maybe that explains why I made 2 serious blunders in like the first 3 moves of the first game. This is move number 2, and I've got a 6-4 to play. I looked very fleetingly at making the 2-point, which is a blunder, and then settled on something that was an even bigger blunder of coming out and hitting. My thought here was that I needed to be aggressive because, like, I've got to get lucky and try and go for some kind of a gammon win or something, but I've got fewer gammons after hitting than if I had just covered the 4-point. So just completely off base to start the game off here. So here, John just entered immediately after I hit him incorrectly on the last move and made the anchor. And in a case of kind of monkey see, monkey do, I immediately followed suit and also made an anchor. Like if John made an anchor, how bad can making an anchor be? I did briefly flirt with the idea of covering the 9 point, which would have been even worse. But I figured the advanced anchor, how bad can it be to make the opponent's 5 point? After being too aggressive last move, this move I was too passive. So swung 180 degrees from where I had been, and so managed to screw up 2 in a row. So here I very quickly and confidently made the move 7-4, figuring that would help keep him on the bar as long as possible. I did not look at all at moving the back checkers, but 23-21 is pretty important because it gets me the anchor at the edge of his prime. So like actually I even missed that one. Yeah, so all of the better moves above the one that I actually made include going 23-21 in order to kind of secure that anchor. 9-8 makes a lot of sense in that, now I've got a solid 4 prime in the middle of the 2 blots there. But, getting hit here is not the end of the world, given that I'm already down in the race and being primed. So 7-4 does mean that now he's only got now he's got 9 numbers that dance instead of only 4 numbers that dance, but he's still a very strong favorite to come in. And there's a lot of numbers that enter and hit off of the bar here. If I've made the correct play, there's a direct shot, but then so the direct 4s, double 2s, double 1s, 3-1, and then 3-6 are like the hitting numbers. But again, getting hit is not so terrible when I've got a better priming structure in front of the entering checker and plenty of space to come in myself and potentially make a double anchor in his board. So didn't think very hard on this one and just moved the wrong way.
Normal, I guess.
Made some comment about do the normal thing, I guess, as I finished making this play, which is to say the normal thing to do when you've got a double 5 and a blot that you can hit on the 3 point is to make a 3 point board and kind of capture it. But in this case, there was something else I could do, which was to get that back checker out and remake the 8 point. So the move that I actually made has got to be on the list here somewhere. Maybe I scrolled past it already, but it was very, here it is. It's not that low on the list, but it's not great. So, it's here being able to get that last checker out and have a 2-point board and only one blot left to deal with is a pretty strong position to be in. After the move that I did make, then I've got 3 blots strewn about, and again, only a 3-point board, so it's not super difficult for him to re-enter. And so, I did at least think about the fact that I could do something different than the normal blitzy kind of a play, but I didn't think very hard. It was kind of like, okay, well, I'll just do the normal thing. How bad can it be? It turns out pretty bad. So this one, I played the 23 to 22 pretty quickly, and that can be part of the right move. But then, it can also be part of some less right moves, including this one down here, which is where I ultimately landed, just popping out to the 18. I kind of made a little bit of a wave at the 13 point, which I think means that I was thinking about maybe I should bring that down. So I, contemplated the correct move for perhaps, 0.2 of a second, but then just sort of seems like I just confidently made the incorrect move without really putting a lot of thought into it. So. This one brought back a little bit of nostalgia for me. After the Denver Open last year, I did an entire blunder reel of just situations where I could have hit and didn't hit. And on this one, I've got a really solid blunder reel here, but this is the first one I've seen in a little bit that I could have hit and didn't hit. So once again, I was just worried about the blots in the outfield, and so thought, oh, I should take care of that immediately. But obviously, hitting prevents him from hitting me in the outfield, although it does expose me to risk of a return shot. But at the moment, he's only got a 1-point board, so how bad could that be? So typical or a standard one for me to be a little bit too passive, miss the hitting play, but once again played it way too fast. It's not looking at alternatives at all. Now the final position that I'm going to have in this video, not the final blunder that I made for the weekend by any means, but the last one that I've got tape on from the ABT portion of the event, and the last major blunder that I had in my match against John O'Hagan. So I've got a 4-3 to play. Obviously, the 4 has to come in from the bar, and then there are really only two sensible kind of options for the 3, either 14 to 11 or 8 to 5. I guess you could also do 7 to 4 and sort of like spread the checkers out in hopes of making another point. And that wouldn't be too bad, but apparently that 7 to 4 would be bad. But what I went with was the 8 to 5. But I definitely at least looked at the 14 to 11. So went the wrong direction, but at least I was contemplating my options more carefully in this one. And I should say, as I started off really poorly in my PR in that match against John, but I did kind of grind it down. So ultimately ended up playing only around a 9.5, which is not terrible, but for me, but given that he played at a 1.9, it was a pretty lopsided result. I told him that he had no real need to outroll and outplay me, but he did both. So it was fun nonetheless to get to play him for the first time. So hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you got something from it. Hope that when I rewatch it in a few weeks that I get something from it to help me prepare for next tournament that I'm in and do better. Thanks.